Hi, my name is Alani Vivamonte, and today I'm going to be talking about the attachment theory of development, which is one of the most influential theories in developmental psychology. Attachment theory helps explain how early relationships between children and caregivers shape emotional development, behavior, and relationships across the lifespan. First off, what is the attachment theory? It helps understand the emotional bonds between infants and their caregivers. It is also a developmental framework that explains emotional bonds formed between infants and their primary caregivers. It highlights the significance of safety, security, and proximity seeking behavior in nurturing these relationships. These bonds profoundly influence emotional and social improvement, which impacts behaviors, relationships, and more throughout their lifespan. There's also an emphasis on safety and security. Safety helps with attachment between the caregiver and the child and helps them continue exploring their surroundings. It also explains that this starts early in childhood in the first 2 to 5 years of their lives, which is the most crucial part of bonding. According to the founder, children are biologically wired to seek closeness to their caregivers, especially when they are distressed, and this increases their chances of survival. There are two key figures in this theory. The first is John Bowlby, who developed the attachment theory in the mid 20th century. While working with emotionally troubled children, he noticed that separations from caregivers had long term emotional effects. He was also inspired by animal research, specifically research that showed ducks bonded with the first figure they saw, which was typically their mothers. He had seen patterns in human infants that resembled the characteristics that ducks portrayed. And this is what sparked his research and the development of this theory. Later on, Mary Ainsworth expanded on his work by studying how children behave when separated and reunited with their caregivers. This helped identify different attachment styles and how to help children with each one. Next, we go on to explore why attachment exists. It helps us understand the biological reasons for attachment in human infants, as we observe in every infant. This attachment serves a critical evolutionary purpose by ensuring that human infants remain close to their caregivers, which enhances their chances of survival. This biological dependence fosters proximity during their vulnerable stages of development, which allows caregivers to provide the necessary comfort and emotional support that helps them with their emotional regulation. Bowlby believed that attachment is an evolutionary adaptation that we grew over time, and infants that stayed close to their responsive caregivers were more likely to survive their threats. And behaviors such as crying, clinging, smiling, and following aren't random, they serve a purpose. And we are biologically programmed to signal caregivers to keep them close. Next, we talk about the attachment behavioral system, which is a system that activates when a child experiences stress, such as hunger, fear, illness, or unfamiliar situation. The primary goal of this system is to feel security for the child, which leaves them feeling safe, understood, and supported. Once they're comforted, the system deactivates, allowing them to calm down and explore once again. Next, we look at the caregiving system. Understanding the role of caregivers in child distress and support, because that is what works best. The caregiving system is activated when caregivers detect distress in their child, providing essential comfort and reassurance. Sensitive and responsive caregiving fosters secure attachments, enabling children to calm down and resume their exploration of the world. This connection is crucial to emotional regulation and healthy development. Over time, consistent caregiving teaches the child that they're worthy of care and that other people can be trusted. And when caregivers respond sensitively through empathy, physical closeness, reassurance, and validation, this helps the child recognize all of those patterns. Next, we look at the internal working models. Internal working models are mental representations formed through interactions with caregivers. These frameworks influence all of our behaviors about ourselves and others, and shape how we perceive trust, self-worth, and relationships. They play a crucial role in guiding our emotional behavior throughout life. If caregivers are responsive, Children learn that they are reliable and can trust them, which leads them to trust other people. If caregiving is inconsistent or rejecting, children may develop insecure expectations about relationships that can carry into their adulthood. With that, there are different attachment styles, and we need to understand patterns of emotional bonding in early childhood. Attachment styles develop from early interactions with caregivers and shape future relationships. These styles influence trust, emotional regulation, and closeness throughout our lives. Understanding these patterns provides insight into how early experiences affect emotional and social development and highlights the importance of responsive caregiving. And based on caregiver responsiveness, children develop different attachment styles. And these styles describe patterns of emotional bonding instead of personality types. And they influence how people experience closeness, trust, and emotional regulation on top of that. Which leads us into secure attachment. And this forms through consistent and sensitive caregiving experiences in early life. Secure attachment develops when caregivers consistently respond to an infant's needs with warmth and sensitivity. This consistent nurturing to children creates a safe base for explanation and allows them to seek comfort when distressed. As a result, securely attached children tend to exhibit more emotional regulation and build healthy relationships throughout their lives. And securely attached children may be upset by separation, but they're easily comforted when their caregiver returns. This attachment is linked to healthier lifestyles. In contrast to that, we have insecure attachment styles. There is 4 different types: anxious and ambivalent, which results from inconsistent caregiving and leads to clingy behavior. Anxious children fear abandonment, avoidant children suppress attachment needs, and attachment though rare, is linked to trauma and unpredictable caregiving. And all of these attachments developed when caregiving is inconsistent, emotionally distant, or frightening. And the avoidant attachment happens when emotionally unavailable caregiving fosters people to be independent. And then there's disorganized, when chaotic caregiving results in a child being confused. And although very common, insecure attachment affects many individuals. Then we go into attachment and psychopathology, understanding the link between attachment styles and mental health outcomes. Research shows that individuals with insecure attachment often experience higher rates of anxiety, ADHD, and trouble emotionally regulating. Parenting behaviors significantly produce these outcomes. Although the relationship isn't deterministic, it plays a big role. Understanding these links can help in developing strategies for mental health and therapeutic strategies. And now we have to look at attachment across the lifespan. Understanding how attachment influences relationships in adulthood as well as childhood is very important. Attachment behaviors continue throughout life, influencing our relationships and emotional bonds. When we're younger, caregivers remain crucial as secure bases. When in adulthood, romantic partners are often serving similar roles. Therapeutic relationships also serve as temporary secure attachments, and this results in continuity of attachment dynamics throughout various stages of life. There are many strengths and weaknesses of this theory. Here is a thoughtful examination of attachment theory's contributions and challenges. Attachment theory is widely used in psychology, education, and mental health care. However, early research focused heavily on mothers and Western norms, and that is the base of this research, and may not fully encompass the diverse experiences of attachments across the different cultures and family structures. With that, today's researchers recognize cultural variation and the fact that attachment styles are flexible but not fixed. And in conclusion, attachment theory shows how early emotional bonds shape how we relate to others and manage stress. While early attachment is important, people are capable of growth and change throughout their lives. Understanding attachment helps explain both challenges and resilience in human development. Thank you for listening. Here are my sources.